You should see like a black... Yeah, I think that this works. You don't have my face there, but I don't think you need my face there. So what are we gonna do now? Is I need the hero images, because while they did manage to give us some assets for the partners, like the what's it called? The partner drive we have access to has like some very good art, but all of these things are like 600 megabytes. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when we asked for just says when we asked for art to use in videos and streams, and they were like, oh, let's just slap them the actual source our graphic designers work with. There's like 8 gigabytes of raw data in their partner drive, and nobody on earth is going to use that for videos. Like, my PC has trouble opening one of these things because they're so large and I don't have the right software to use it. So I think they kind of did not understood what we meant with that we wanted like a good logo, hero images and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways, I think I hope you can still see that. You should be able to see our lovely favorite Justin Bieber there. Kidding. Alright, we're gonna start off with Jordan. I think this should be readable. I'm just gonna copy these off the website, by the way. So this may be taking a little bit of time. Okay, so first of all, I'm just gonna go from left to right. So Jordan Dukas, I still think he's A tier, to be honest. While he got nerfed in the past, the last patch was kind of like a buff for him again, so he can tap his shield to essentially block everything that's not a guard break, which is very good. He can still play very aggressively, but he still suffers from the old issues he had, which means not a guaranteed 100-0 combo without a musket or a wall, which is, I think, the biggest drawback of this hero. And he does have some matchups that are not really favorable for him. Generally still a very strong hero. I don't know why so many people dropped him. Well, I do know because Schultz is better and he got nerfed, but I still think he's a very powerful hero. Do that one. So, Yeonhwa, I'd put her into B tier for a couple of reasons. First of all, her auto attacks hurt like hell. Like, she's really strong if people don't know what the hell they're doing. So, especially against a noob filter is probably she's probably the best noob filter you have in the game, just because you murder people so hard. And by the time they realize that they should not be trading blows with you, you just press 4 and they die. So she has some very good tools. Problem is, her combo setups are a little bit iffy, and the counter, while being buffed several times, is still, I think, the thing that makes her stand and fall. Because if you drop the counter or misuse it, you're gonna get punished by a good player. And sometimes her arrow does not follow up completely, and I mean, she's not bad. She really isn't bad, but I think there are just so many occasions where her kit has so many random factors or stuff that you can't fully control, which just makes her... Yeah, I think 2 is the biggest drawback of her kit. 3 is really good to disrupt at the end of a combo or interrupt people in their approach. 1 is very, very powerful with ultimate because it hits like hell, and that 5-second cooldown is really, really scary. And 4 generally is one of the best abilities in the game. So, our lovely crow, Ahon Kiras. I'd put her... I hope this can be distinguished, that this is supposed to be like between A and S tier, somewhere in between. This is probably going to be more evident once we go along. We talked about this earlier, like 15 minutes earlier. Yeah, A+, essentially, like somewhere here in between. I might redo this for the YouTube video though. But generally A+, for... She has the best iframe in the game. RMB is probably the best RMB in the game, with a 2.5-second cooldown, I think, at the moment. It gets buffed and nerfed every few patches. Like, they're tweaking her constantly. But I think her R&B is super strong, both defensively and offensively. She's the only hero that can reliably dodge Vensla's charge, right? Because she can just tap R&B, and if done at the right distance, you can just delay it and do a super good follow-up. It's scary how good that R&B is for such a short cooldown. Like I said, I think the most versatile kid with both melee and ranged abilities. She can fight melee, she can fight mid-range, she can technically fight at long range, although I don't think she's that good at long range, but mid and short range, she's super good. Now that the latest buff added another DP debuff for her, I think with full skill points, she's one of the most scariest heroes. Biggest drawback of her is having 8k HP. She just dies like a fly. If, like, halfway through a combo, her HP pool is just going to be so much lower than anybody else's. So I think this is the biggest drawback, despite her being a melee hero. And she's technically just a very difficult hero to play with. So, Schultzy boy, everybody's fan favorite Zerk. Yeah, we can put this guy here. So, I don't think this needs a whole lot of explanation. I'm just gonna give it for the sake of completionist. Probably the best combo game in the game at this point right now. With, I wouldn't say he has an infinite combo, but he can loop very good and very easily. He can delay cooldowns and control the flow of a fight with his grab very much to his akin. He can relocate you, he can extend it, he can shorten it whatever way he wants, which gives him so much more options than any other hero in the game has. Badal had a little bit of a similar thing where he could decide on how to use his grab, right? He could either go for the long CC or use it as a disengage in a fight. And Schultz still has the option to pretty much do whatever he freaking wants to with a grab. Plus, insanely good damage, a super armor on command, a very hard to dodge charge. Similar thing, Ahon heroes can dodge it. Other heroes are having quite a bit of a hard time to dodge his charge, actually. So I think he's definitely one, if not the best hero currently in the game. And it's no surprise, if you look at tournaments, he's a very well received hero, and a lot of people now play him for good reasons, honestly. So, Haru. I'm definitely putting Haru into A tier. Lower HP pool, obviously, is a drawback for most melee heroes. I mean, lower HP pool is a drawback for any hero, period. But Haru, being a melee fighter, having a lower HP pool always hurts her. However, I don't think she's a brawler. So unlike, for example, Gorgath, who excels at just like pinching and poking at enemies, Haru is really the epitome of the rat style. She's just so good at going in, dealing heaps of damage without the enemy being able to react. If you want to, you can do the full combo, but if you don't want to, you can put a lot of damage out there quickly and put a lot of pressure onto the enemy. The latest patch nerfed her bleed, which I think is still very good because the bleeding was incredibly hard, especially if you double stacked it. That thing was just chewing away at your HP. But I still think she has one of the best engages in the game with a redirectable one. The hitbox is just way too scary to deal with. However, if you have like a hero like Ygritte or Goyen who has like super armor or a shield, there's not a whole lot you're going to do with that hero. Oh boy, she reigned quite a long time as a very strong hero. I'd put her around about B+, A-, something like that. This is probably where some people will have a different opinion. I see some people putting her into A tier, definitely not anymore up here. But I'm gonna place her here, or here, I guess. I'll make this image as cluttered. Insanely good range pressure, super high damage output with very few abilities. Now the freezing works correctly, so you can like double freeze. I'm not entirely sure what combo scenario I couldn't think of any. Because I don't think there's a reason for you to follow up freeze with freeze. There might be a combo I'm missing here, but generally I think it's not the wisest idea to press F after 1 or 1 after F. I think there are better options for that. But it is possible. So that's that. Like I said, not having an infinite combo, so to speak, anymore definitely hurt her, and low HP people as usual. But if you know what you're doing, very, very high damage output, very scary hero. I don't think a lot of people are just clinging to her similar to how we cling to what Badal could you do in the past. And so she's not very often picked these days. She's still very scary though. So I mean, it implies literally what you just said. It's like before the patch, when you froze an enemy with either F or 1, so you did, for example, the dagger off, like the dagger at melee range, and you did a frostbolt afterwards, it would essentially work the same way as like hitting somebody out of a stun or freeze. It would break the freeze, and now it doesn't break it, so it reapplies the freeze. I'm not sure if it increases the scaling. What you're saying might actually be a thing to like F into 1 into 2 for like the highest burst you can do. I still think it's better to just rotate any of the freezes into a different combo, but there might be room for F1-2. There's whips. There's definitely room for that. So Orwen, definitely S tier for multiple reasons. Not only because of what we saw in the King of the Hill, because that's old stuff really, but still, she is by far the most scariest thing at range. She can instantly delete people at melee if they're not paying attention. Having a DP debuff is very good, especially in late game. Some of her abilities are, I wouldn't say good, but if you give her too much room, yeah, I still think she's S, and I think some people will probably disagree, but if you're letting the Orwen roam around, there is very little you can do. Especially in late game scenarios where you don't have the environment to somehow get close to her, and you give her the room to place down traps or just run into the shadow, go back in, go back out. She's just super annoying, and she can just chip away at her health. So she puts so much pressure onto you that, especially in late game, she's scary. I know what you're saying. In like any regular game, most of the time hero Orwens are kill on sight for a good reason. And if you lock her down, there's not a whole lot she can do. And some heroes pinch her down very good. But leaving her unchained? Probably. I mean, I could put her somewhere around here, similar to... Yeah, definitely. I'm not saying it's that. Similar to how Ahon Kyrus is not an S plus or S minus or A plus by default. Definitely not. I think Orwen is probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest hero to play, because she fundamentally works on a different manner. Because you don't want to pick a fight unless you have to, or you really know what the hell you're doing. So I definitely agree that this is... I might put her down to A plus actually. Think about this. Since we don't really have a difficulty tier in here, this is probably the best idea to put her down there. I mean, yeah, she's definitely harder to play than most other heroes, but like I said, I guess it's a similar fate to Ahon Kyrus. If you know what the hell you're doing, it's brutally hard. So I think putting her down from S to like A plus is probably worth it, especially for like this tier list usually is for people who are new to the game, right? They're like looking for these kinds of videos or content to understand what kind of hero is like kind of good to pick up or not. So I guess it's better to put her this way. So my beloved Badal. It's been a while. I'm gonna put him into B tier. So he's not bad. He really isn't bad. And while we do moan about him quite a bit because he still isn't good, And I understand the sentiment that some people just want to see him bleed because he was so good in the past. I still think... Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say he was OP on release, but he was very good. And he was very fun to play for a lot of people. He still has some of his assets he had in the past, but with the recent, or it wasn't recent, but with the changes like damage reduction stacks from CCs, half of his kit kinda counters itself, because he has such a short CC duration on most of his skills that you're ending up chaining CC after CC instantly without being able to deal damage in between. But Al's damage kinda came from the fact that, yeah, the 40% stamina regen is like it was in at the very beginning. And the damage Badal was able to deal in the past, or before he got nerfed, was due to the fact that he was able to put so many auto attacks in between his skills. So for example, if you did a grab ultimate without the follow-up, you could do 5 hits. You could do 5 hits after Thunderbreaker. You could do 4 hits after F. Stuff like that. So you had a lot of these opportunities where you could do a lot of auto attacks in between, and they added up with the damage. They kind of removed his potential now by shortening the amount of CC, or like the duration of CCs. Thunderbreaker now only CCs for 1 second. Grab is no longer cancelable, or you don't get to choose whether you want the second hit or not, so it always is the second hit. Helix now CCs, but yeah. It's more of a nuke than a CC, really. So he does have a few perks to him, and he has a few things that are really, really good on his part, but he's just not really that good anymore. He gets still heavily countered by stamina regen, and his combo game is just very, I wouldn't say lackluster, but not very good. They buffed also the grab range, so essentially he got 2 buffs in the last patch, but they're not that big, to be honest. He's still a fine hero. He's not bad, but he's not good either. That's just the sad reality of it. I think that was a little bit too small. So, Guyen, favorite mercenary. Definitely solid A pick. Probably, actually my most favorite hero at this point. Second best combo game, I think. Only overshadowed by how good Schultz can combo. Essentially, combo starter and any abilities, a lot of super armor, especially good and useful super armor that you can use to counter people with, right? Because Badal has super armor too, but burning his super armor to not get hit takes away a lot of his damage abilities, whereas Guyen can just safely pop one of his super armors to bait stuff in. It's not too hard for him to just expend one of his skills because he still has 4 others to deal damage with. Biggest drawback is obviously HP loss. So if you whiff, you're really in for some deep shit. And you do need all the skills for stuff to work. Plus, if the enemy is wary of how Guyen works, usually there's a good chance that you get your ass slapped. But I still think he's a very good A pick, especially with the recent buffs. His crouch attack got buffed. He doesn't have an animation log on 1, or it's not as long anymore. So he's not as punishable. He's a very good hero overall, or a good hero. I wouldn't put him into very good, but definitely good. Plus he gets the benefit of having a huge ass sword. So that automatically qualifies him for a high tier. Okay, Venslayer. This is the hardest thing for me because I never played Venslayer. I really don't know how that hero works in general. I'm gonna slap her right about here. Because this is, like I said, the hardest thing for me. Venslayer got nerfed, rightfully so, because some of her skills were just incredibly difficult to deal with, downright broken. I don't know how the new Ultimate 2 plays out, if it's worse or better. Some people told me that it's better, some people told me that it's worse. I don't play her, so I can't really vouch for any of this. I still think she's a very capable hero due to the fact that she has different stances. She can heal, which is annoying as hell, so if you give her too much room, she's just gonna heal up. She still has her nuclear power bomb if she wants to. So she's probably one of the best third-party heroes in the game, with essentially no counterplay to it. Because if you don't know that she's winding up her 4, and she's gonna hit that sword on your back, it's gonna hurt big time. And there's nothing you can do about that because of how quick that happens. I still think she's a very decent hero. Suffers a little bit from, I guess, mechanical issues, because sometimes you overshoot people, and sometimes the CC bugs out. So terrain is always a little bit of a thing for her, but I still think she's a good hero. I don't actually think that I'm gonna put any hero into C or B tier, or D tier actually. Maybe I should have thought about my tier list before. I didn't want me to do that. Oops. So, Tagal. This one's a little bit of a hard one for me because I play this hero a lot and I like him a lot. But I'd still put him probably here. Actually, I think he's worse than Heroine and Redslar. I'm gonna put him down here. Multiple reasons. Obviously, the biggest strength he has is he's a powerhouse. He hurts like hell. He has 11k HP, which is the highest HP pool in the game, and some people seem to forget about that. I probably lived a good 6 or 7 fights because I had that additional 1000 HP. So it definitely matters in the game. Not always, but it does help. Combo game is very, very easy. There's not all too much you need to learn about Tagal. I think everybody can pick up Tagal's combo in like 30 minutes, maybe 60. Because there's really no big secret of how his basic combo stuff works. He has a few mechanics that are a little bit harder to pull off, but I think he's B tier for the sole reason that he cannot engage onto every hero. And his engage is very limited in terms of, you know it's coming, you just don't know when. There's not a whole lot he can do to divert or create a different opening. Sure, you can sometimes pop into one at a wall or counter with your 3, but none of these are really gonna start a combo, so you're either gonna hit with 3, with 2, with F, or the RMB. None of these skills are protected. I still think that is the biggest issue for this hero, because if you're knowing what you're doing, you're not gonna give this guy a lot of room. And you definitely don't want to be in as effective range, which is a little bit deceptive. So, Lan. I definitely put her into B+. She actually we can put her into A tier now that I think about it. Very, very good burst these days. Some of her skills have incredibly large range after a few buffs or if you ultimate them. She has a counter super armor and counter guard skill, which is incredibly powerful. A lot of people still seem to forget about this. Just incredibly good. Yeah, it definitely. She's incredibly good with all the buffs she received. She's not as sluggish anymore. And like, how should I say this? I wouldn't say she's an noob filter, but she's also very good at third partying because she has the very mid-rangey kind of skills. So she's very good in terms of catching people before they actually realize that they're in range, which I think definitely is a pro for her. Plus the armor debuff still helps her in late game. I've been clipped by Lance quite a few times, and if you don't Q quick enough, they are easily taking away like 60% of your health. So it's not like you can wait like in the old days when Lan released, where she did like a huge ass 15-second combo and you still had like 40% left. You do gotta know how the combo works now, and I more often than not still get surprised by how hard she hits. I just had a game yesterday or 2 days ago on stream where I almost got killed by Alan because I misjudged of how much damage I'm gonna take in such a short amount of time. She has a few drawbacks, and I still think 4 is more of a gimmick, but it can be used to escape, so definitely a well-versed hero at this point. And I think underrated, to be honest. Honestly, looking, there's one hero I can put into C tier. There's no hero I can put into D tier, by the way. So Gorgath, my friend, also A tier. We talked about Gorgath a few minutes ago. Very, very good brawler type of hero. Incredibly powerful right mouse button. Probably the second best R&B ability in the game. It has a guard break on it. It has very, very good AoE and radius. A 6-second cooldown. Insanely powerful ability. His combo game, probably... it's not as easy as Tagal's combo game, but it's not too hard. I think the hardest part about this hero is getting his animation cancel down and knowing when and how to use it to get maximum performance out. But even if you don't use his animation cancels, he's still a very scary fellow. There's some issues with certain matchups, but generally he counters some heroes very hard. And I mean, his alchemy table is a gimmick. You can technically play and ult it and hope for some super YOLO RNG picks and get like, I don't know, double Perturum or double Red Dragon's Offering and just slap them down at the end. But that's not going to be a very viable tactic, especially not if you want to play the game. Definitely a very solid hero though. So, Ygritte. I'm gonna put her down back into B tier. I mean, I could maybe opt her into like B+. I still think she's B tier for multiple reasons. She has one of the best engages, which is more of a decision to put her up here. But I think she has more drawbacks than that very good engage of hers is able to outweigh. Biggest drawback number one, she needs all skills in her combo. Like, if sure, doing a grab and doing 4 deals like the biggest part of the damage, right? But the combo doesn't stop there. So to deal maximum DPS, you will have to use all the skills in succession. Which puts her into a little bit of a similar boat to like Goyen. Without all of your abilities, you're not going to be as effective as, for example, other heroes where like Jardine needs 2-4 or F4, Tagal just needs grab 4. So if you whiff one, or even worse, if you miss 2 of your abilities, your damage is gonna cut. Like, you're not gonna deal a whole lot of damage. At best, you're gonna whiff 2 and 3, and you still have 1 and 4 left, which still results in a very good burst, but it's never gonna kill. So I think this is one of her biggest drawbacks. The second biggest drawback is, like I said earlier, if you're facing heroes like Gorgath, you're monkey food. But there's nothing you can really do actively other than lurk around. You just witnessed how poorly I played against that last Ygritte, and he outplayed me quite a few times. But he just couldn't close the deal. And I just pressed random buttons, and at the end he still lost. Because of how good and scary his guard break is, and I can just circle around my rocks. So certain heroes are incredibly hard for her to deal with. So I don't think she deserves an A. Like I said, maybe B+. But generally I'd put her down here. Because her limiting factors are the wide variety of skills she needs. Plus, she does have the gimmick of guard on ult 4. But I think it remains a gimmick. I think against against good players, more often than not, you're not going to be able to use that ult for like a defensive play. It may work, but I think it's a very scary thing to do because grabs can knock you out, guard breaks will knock you out. So it's kind of a bit of a tricky thing for me. I still think she's a very fun hero. She feels very fluid, but I don't think she's the best hero, especially in certain matchup. She's just not able to do anything. We're almost at the end. Sura, oh boy, I thought a lot about this hero actually. And I'm gonna put him into B tier as well. Probably the most fluent hero we have in the game. Feels super nice. Very fun to play, especially for me too. I like his moves, I like him visually. I like how his combos work, how his skills chain. Very, very nice kit altogether. I think the devs did a really good job to make him kinda I wouldn't say he's like a real ninja, but he feels a little bit like Ninja and BDO, or like Awakened Ninja and BDO, where he's like a hard-hitting, relatively straightforward hero, because despite having like multiple R&B forms, he's a very straightforward hero. There aren't too many different options you're gonna go for. The opener may differ, but the combo is usually always gonna revolve around the same pattern. So it's not all too much you gotta think about. The hardest part for this hero is really get the combo going. And there's only one really good engage for me, and that's 4 R&B. Or 4 with a guard. But still, even to this day, I fail to use it very oftenly, and I still just try to get into close range and pop my 2. Because with a guard and super armor ignore, you're just gonna pierce everything in the game, which makes him very good. The problem is, he has huge animation locks on every ability. If you whiff on this guy, boy, you're in for punishment. And regardless of what skill you're gonna whiff, every skill of his has a huge animation lock at the end. It's scary. They're really gonna make sure that you either land your abilities or you have your finger on your flash ready, because you may very well need it because you whiffed your skills. Also, his first ability is still up to this day not very reliable. It kinda glitches out quite a bit, or quite a few times. So I think, it's just not that great, I think. So if they were maybe to rework that one, and either make it more reliable or less iffy, I definitely would push him into B+ or A tier. Because he has a very solid game, he's very fluid, and like I said, combos roll off very nicely. And he doesn't have that much of a cooldown problem. Last but not least, and just for the sake of using all but D tier, we're gonna put her down into C tier. And I mean, she received a few buffs. I think every patch after the last one, or after the first one, was a buff for her. And she still isn't played by a whole lot of people, and I still don't think she's a very good hero. We talked about it earlier as well. I think her skills are just very out of order, or just like taken out of the BDO counterpart and slapped into this game. It's very disorienting, like, yeah, I would call it even disorientating at times, where you can't really do exactly what you want to do. She can skill curve for 1, but in a right setup, most people would either punish you or dodge it and punish you afterwards because it has such a huge animation at the end. Her second ability is just, I don't know, I think it's just more of a jokingly weird ability, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Even if you hit the enemy, there's a very good chance that you're gonna destroy your own combo because the blowback is gonna be different, the timing is gonna be off. It's just awful altogether. The third ability is, I think, the only thing that kind of really works more or less properly. It deals quite a bit amount of damage. With the ultimate version, it's pretty good. And the fourth ability, while it's very good in the way how it works and what it gives, if you're not, like, if the enemy is aware of how your skills work and that you have this huge super armor at your hand, they're just gonna bait it out. Hello, these nuts. Good evening to you. So, if you're, and thank you for the follow. Well, that was quick. Much appreciated, man. Like, if you're wary that she has super armor 1 and 4, you're not gonna run in blindly and get hit by those. You're just gonna wait and sit them out, because if she whiffs her 1, you're getting a guaranteed opening to punish her. Like, the best time to hit her is circle around her and put her under a little bit of pressure, wait until she presses 1, or let her jump, like, just stand close to her and she's gonna vault over you, or just circle around. And she's gonna miss that ability. And afterwards, she's gonna be a sitting duck, and you can just punish her super quickly and super easily. And the same goes for 4. If you know that she does have the skill up, just bait it out. Don't try to do anything funky, unless you're sure you're gonna hit the skill, but if you're unsure about it, just... Hey, I mean, give me a sec. So, have you ever played Shadow Arena or Black Desert before? We're still talking about the tier list, so I guess right now is the best time. We're just gonna do this here. Gonna make this red. Boom. But yeah. Generally, if you never played the game, I'd say pick Jordan Dukas and just get a feel for the game. He's a very straightforward character. He has very lenient cooldowns on some abilities. His combo game is not too difficult. Like, you're gonna learn his combo in a few hours of playing. I haven't played the game at all. Yeah, I definitely say pick Jordan Dukas. Pick Goyen maybe. Who else would be a viable pick as a starter? I guess, yeah, Egrid maybe. Yeah, definitely don't pick Ahon. Don't pick that hero. Don't pick that hero. Don't pick those. Don't pick that hero either. Like, don't pick Golden Mullet guy. I guess Tagal could work as a new hero because he doesn't have that many abilities to deal with. Yeonhwa is always a classic answer because she doesn't have such a huge combo game, so you don't have to worry about chaining that many skills. Sura, I wouldn't classify him as a noob-friendly hero. He's not too hard to play. He's iffy though. Definitely. I mean, this is the bread and butter answer you can give. Try them out, see what visually appeals to you, and just go into practice mode and smack a few bots for like 20 minutes and get a feeling for the skills and how the hero moves and works, and then just stick to it for a few games. And if you think you're like 1 or 2 hours into the game, you have like a very basic understanding, I guess suggest either looking up guides for heroes, watch somebody stream. There's not too many people that stream the game. Or just ask on Discord for like basic combos. Gorgath could work too. He could definitely work too. He's not one of the hardest combo heroes in terms of that. He has a few things that are probably a little bit weird for you as a new player. But I guess as a starting out player, you can definitely pick Gorgath too. Still, let me. How am I going to do this? I'm gonna try and make a pink smear. Oops. That's fine though. Like, pretty much like Solo Wu said, there's nothing wrong with picking a hero and just sticking to it for a bit. Maybe not on her face. So I guess the ones that I just marked with a pink dot or a circle are the heroes that I would recommend, or I could see a new player not getting too confused about.